รายการต่อไปนี้เป็นรายการทั่วไปสามารถรับชมได้ทุกวัย
สนับสนุนโดยแลกเงินด้วยบัตรเครดิตกสิกรไทยเที่ยวก่อนจ่ายทีหลังไม่มีค่าธรรมเนียมผ่อนชำระได้จากธนาคารกสิกรไทย
สวัสดีค่ะมองเรามองโลกวันนี้เป็นบทสัมภาษณ์พิเศษศาสตราจารย์ดรเอริกมาสกินนักเศรษฐศาสตร์ชาวอเมริกันเจ้าของรางวัลโนเบลสาขาเศรษฐศาสตร์ปี 2007 เขาเดินทางมาเมืองไทยในฐานะแขกพิเศษของ The International Peace Foundation เราจะคุยกับศาสตราจารย์มาสกินเกี่ยวกับปัญหาความเหลื่อมล้ำรวมถึงการใช้ทฤษฎีเกมซึ่งศาสตราจารย์มาสกินมีความเชี่ยวชาญมาอธิบายปรากฏการณ์ต่างๆที่กำลังเกิดขึ้นในโลกโดยเฉพาะอย่างยิ่งการเมืองสหรัฐค่ะศาสตราจารย์ดรเอริกมาสกินนักเศรษฐศาสตร์ชาวอเมริกันวัย 67 ปี จบการศึกษาระดับปริญญาเอกด้านคณิตศาสตร์ประยุกต์จากมหาวิทยาลัยฮาร์วาร์ดศาสตราจารย์มาสกินเป็นอาจารย์สอนด้านเศรษฐศาสตร์มายาวนานในหลายมหาวิทยาลัยชั้นนำเช่น MIT Harvard และ Princeton ปัจจุบันเขาได้รับการแต่งตั้งเป็น Adams University Professor ซึ่งเป็นตำแหน่งพิเศษสำหรับศาสตราจารย์ผู้ทรงคุณวุฒิที่มหาวิทยาลัยฮาร์วาร์ดศาสตราจารย์มาสกินเชี่ยวชาญด้านทฤษฎีเกมและทฤษฎีการออกแบบกลไกเขาได้รับรางวัลโนเบลสาขาเศรษฐศาสตร์ประจำปี 2007 สำหรับการวางรากฐานต่างๆของทฤษฎีการออกแบบกลไก
Professor, what is your definition of game theory?
Game theory is just the study of the strategic interaction between people. If what I do affects you and what you do affects me, then when I am trying to figure out my strategy, how I should behave, I have to take into account your behavior. So I have to anticipate what you're going to do, and you have to do the same thing with me. So game theory is the tool we use to study situations like that and make predictions about how people or companies or countries will actually behave.
Can it explain every situation in every field?
Is particularly important in situations where there are just a few participants. Paradoxically, it's harder to understand interactions among a few people than it is when there are lots and lots of people. Because when there are lots of people, no single person can have a big effect on other people. And so the other people don't have to worry so much about what that person is going to do. So it's actually much easier to study a situation where there are lots of people than where there are a few people. Game theory is the tool par excellence for understanding interactions among a few people. And yes, it does apply in economics, in politics, in social interactions. It's a very powerful tool.
Can you give me examples of real-life situations that game theory can actually explain or predict the interactions and outcomes?
Yes, the American car market, for example, automobile market, is dominated by three companies: General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler. For General Motors to figure out what cars it wants to produce this year, how many of each model, what price to set, it has to anticipate what Ford is going to do and what Chrysler is going to do. And they have to do the same. Ford has to figure out what General Motors is going to do. Game theory has proved to be a very accurate tool in making predictions about how industries like the automobile industry actually behave.
Can game theory also explain politics?
Indeed it can. If I'm a political candidate and I am trying to appeal to the public, I will want to anticipate how my opponent on the other side is going to formulate his political platform, and I will want to take that into account. So game theory has been a very useful tool in understanding political competition.
Do you think Donald Trump actually used game theory to beat Hillary Clinton?
I'm not sure that he used it explicitly, but certainly he understood intuitively some of the important game theoretic lessons.
Such as?
Such as it doesn't always matter so much what you say as how you say it. Trump is a master at talking on TV, getting people's interest, even if they don't really like the content of what he's saying, they focus on his pronouncements simply because he makes them interesting.
We are going to build a great border wall to stop illegal immigration. I have made billions of dollars in business making deals. Now I'm going to make our country rich again.
So what did he get right about the economy that, actually struck a chord with the public and they voted for him?
Well, he got right the fact that although the U.S. has been making a slow recovery, its growth has been increasing year by year, many of the benefits of that growth are going only to the upper part of the income distribution, and many people have been left behind. Trump understood this frustration and this impatience, and he capitalized on it in his campaign. Not that he's offered any useful solution, but just by focusing on these issues, he got a lot of attention. That's something that he recognized. Also, Bernie Sanders recognized on the Democratic side, which more mainstream candidates like Hillary Clinton perhaps didn't put enough emphasis on.
January 20th, 2017 will be remembered as the day the people became the rulers of this nation again. The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer.
Professor, why are you so fascinated with game theory?
Because I'm fascinated with human interaction, and game theory is the right tool for understanding how human beings interact with one another.
ปัญหาความเหลื่อมล้ำเป็นปัญหาที่มีมาอย่างยาวนานแม้ปัจจุบันจะเป็นยุคโลกาภิวัตน์ที่มีการค้าขายกันระหว่างประเทศซึ่งสร้างโอกาสในการมีรายได้มากขึ้นแต่ทุกวันนี้ปัญหาความเหลื่อมล้ำกลับยังไม่หมดไปและยังคงเป็นปัญหาสำคัญที่โลกเผชิญอยู่
So what went wrong with our economies these days? How come the inequality gap becomes bigger and bigger?
In different countries, the reasons are different. Part of the problem in the United States is that there's been a great deal of technological innovation over the last 20 to 25 years, which has worked to the advantage of people who have skills which complement those new technologies well, but have displaced many people whose skills are old-fashioned or perhaps who don't have very many skills. People who used to earn their money on the assembly line or cleaning people's homes are getting displaced by machines. And the new jobs, the jobs which are paying well, are going to people with more education, more skill, and so their incomes are rising, but the people without skills are being left behind, and that contributes to inequality.
Is free trade and open markets still the way to go?
I think so, but along with the recognition that more has to be done to bring the unskilled and the less educated workers into the economy. This can be done through public education, this can be done through subsidies for skill training, it can also be done through the tax system, that is raising taxes on the very well off in order to help subsidize the less well off.
โดนัลด์ ทรัมป์ประธานาธิบดีคนใหม่ของสหรัฐมีนโยบายกีดกันการค้าเขาจะตั้งกำแพงภาษีที่สูงขึ้นสำหรับการนำเข้าสินค้าและมีนโยบายกดดันไม่ให้บริษัทอเมริกันไปเปิดโรงงานที่ประเทศอื่นโดยเขามองว่าจะเป็นการสร้างงานให้คนอเมริกันและจะทำให้อเมริกากลับมามั่งคั่งอีกครั้ง
What if we follow Donald Trump's policies or his vision being protectionist, tax at the border? Would these actually solve inequality?
I'm afraid not. I'm afraid that that interfering with trade is just going to be self-defeating because if the United States starts doing this, of course, there's going to be a response by its trading partners. It's going to make all countries worse off as a result, and it's not going to solve inequality.
Professor, do you have an alternative theory to explain why global markets fail to reduce inequality?
This is in collaboration with a Harvard economist named Michael Kramer, and what we argue is that the recent globalization has also been a globalization of production itself. So these days, the production process is international. Think of computers, for example. Computers might be designed in the US and programmed in Europe and assembled in China. So many countries are involved in producing a single computer. The labor market itself is international. So a computer company can, for example, hire Chinese workers to assemble computers. But that means that the Chinese workers who will be in demand are those who have skills that the computer manufacturer is looking for. So those workers get the fruits of globalization. They're the ones who get the jobs. People with no skills, and there are still hundreds of millions of Chinese people who don't have skills, are left behind. That, we argue, is the root cause of inequality.
Is there any way to fix that?
I think the most promising way of fixing it is not by trying to stop globalization, which again I think would be self-defeating, but rather giving the people who have been left behind the opportunity to join the global labor force. And the way to do that is to give them the skills and education they need to be able to compete for these jobs. The way that this education and training is going to happen is through governments getting involved. A government, for example, could give you a subsidy in order to train me. A tax break, for example. That's the way that we're going to solve the inequality problem, not by trying to stop globalization.
Is there any country that you can think of that actually come up with solutions to this big inequality problem?
One example is Brazil. Unfortunately, Brazil is in a complete political mess at the moment, but if you go back a few years, Brazil recognized that it had a very serious inequality problem. It has one of the highest inequality rates in the world, but what they did was to introduce a very interesting and quite effective program called conditional cash transfers. Poor families are given money to help support them, but on condition that they send their children to school. Many poor families were reluctant to send their kids to school because their kids might be needed at home to work on the farm or in the family business. The conditional cash transfer program gave these families some income so that they were financially able to afford having their children in school. So a generation later, when they entered the labor force, they were able to find good jobs. And in fact, we saw, thanks to this program and other measures in Brazil, a decrease in the inequality rate in Brazil over a number of years. So this is the sort of policy that, if followed elsewhere, I think could be quite successful.
Let's talk about your work on mechanism design theory. What is that?
I like to think of mechanism design as the reverse engineering part of economics. So much of economics consists of looking at existing institutions, economic institutions, and trying to predict or explain their outcomes. But in mechanism design, we do just the opposite. We start with the outcomes we would like to achieve. Those are our goals. And then we work backwards to figure out what institutions we could create in order to achieve those goals. Any procedure or contract that we design in order to achieve a goal is a mechanism. A constitution for a political constitution for a nation is a mechanism because it describes what actions the various political participants can take.
Can you give examples of how this theory of yours is actually used to solve problems?
Let's take the problem of traffic. Many cities around the world have had serious problems with traffic congestion.
And you're in Bangkok.
I've noticed that Bangkok has traffic jams more often than it would like. Some countries, thinking of Melbourne in Australia, have come up with ingenious schemes using mechanism design principles for combating traffic congestion. What Melbourne did was to have cars install transponders so that you can tell where a car is at any time and charge it according to the roads that the driver chooses to take. So if a road is particularly congested, you would have to pay a higher fee for using that road. That gives you the incentive to go to another road where traffic is not so bad. And that kind of transponder scheme has been very effective.
ล่าสุดศาสตราจารย์มาสกินได้ผลิตงานวิจัยที่เปรียบเทียบระบบการออกเสียงเลือกตั้งต่างๆว่าวิธีไหนดีที่สุดสำหรับการส่งเสริมประชาธิปไตย
Your recent research on voting process.
Yes.
What's the conclusion? Which type of voting procedures is best to uphold democracy?
Democracy is often associated with the term majority rule, but in fact, majority rule is not used in most democracies, and the United States is an example of that. The United States uses a voting method called plurality rule. Instead, under plurality rule, every voter votes for a single candidate, and the candidate with the most votes is the winner, even if that candidate does not get a majority, more than 50% of the vote. This means, though, that a candidate can win with quite a low fraction of the total vote, maybe only 30%, because the other 70% is split among the other candidates. In fact, it's entirely possible, and it's very often the case, that one of those other candidates is actually more popular than the candidate who won. Let me give you an example, again from American politics. In the Republican primaries, the elections that were held last spring in order to determine who would be the Republican nominee, there were a number of mainstream candidates, we'll call them. Marco Rubio, a senator from Florida, was one of them. John Kasich, governor of Ohio, was another. And of course there was Donald Trump, the outsider. Most of the Republican primaries, the vote between Rubio and Kasich was split. Either of them probably would have beaten Donald Trump if it had been a head-to-head contest. But because Kasich and Rubio were both running, people who were voting against Trump split their vote between Kasich and Rubio, and so neither of them got more votes than Trump. What I would propose is that we change the voting system so that instead of just voting for a single candidate, a voter has the opportunity to rank candidates. By allowing voters to rank candidates, we avoid this situation that the anti-Trump voters have their vote split among several candidates. Under majority rule, with rankings, both Kasich and Rubio would come out ahead of Trump. Both of them would get a majority of the vote against Trump. So, according to our analysis, another reason why Trump came to power was because of the voting system, because of the fact that we were not using majority rule.
Do you think the Nobel Prize is a good mechanism or a good incentive for everyone in the market?
I'm not sure that the Nobel Prize is a particularly good incentive because no one goes into the business of economic research because they think they're going to win a Nobel Prize. The chance of that happening is too low. The reason why the institution of the Nobel Prize is important is because it's a way of letting the public know about important developments in science. So the particular people who have made those discoveries are not so important, but the discoveries themselves are important, and the Nobel Prize helps publicize those discoveries and make sure that they are known not just within the scientific community, but more broadly.
นี่คือมุมมองที่น่าสนใจจากศาสตราจารย์ดร. เอริก มัสกินนักเศรษฐศาสตร์ระดับรางวัลโนเบลที่ใช้ทฤษฎีเกมในการวิเคราะห์ปัญหาและพยายามหาทางออกด้วยซึ่งปัญหาใหญ่ในโลกตอนนี้ก็คือความเหลื่อมล้ำศาสตราจารย์มัสกินมองว่าทางออกไม่ใช่การต่อต้านโลกาภิวัตน์แต่ต้องเป็นการให้ความรู้ให้การศึกษากับผู้คนเพื่อให้เท่าทันความเปลี่ยนแปลงของยุคโลกาภิวัตน์นั่นต่างหากจะเป็นวิธีที่ทำให้ทุกคนได้ประโยชน์จากโลกาภิวัตน์อย่างทั่วถึงจริงๆค่ะพบกันใหม่สัปดาห์หน้าวันนี้สวัสดีค่ะ